Okay, so that brings us to 10.3, where we work with another class. So in this case, we're given this person class. I'm just going to copy paste the code and put it into the file we're working in, student.py, and then we can look at what the definition does. So we got student here. It's already here. Well, I already got it copy pasted, so let's just put it in like this. And then we need to implement a student class, and we'll get to that. But let's start with the person class. So the person class is one where we can see the constructor is given a first and a last name. So let me just do it. So let's create a person, and this can be me, like this. And then we have a single method, get full name. It doesn't take any input argument, and we can see that what it does is that it concatenates the first name with a space and then the last name, and then it returns it. So this returns a string, so therefore it might be a good idea that we print it out like this. We can do it like this. So let me try to run this file, and we can see that it works as we would probably expect. Now what we want to do here is that we want to create a student, and the student should behave pretty much like a person, as students want to do. A student still have a first and a last name, but it also has a specialty, like it could be bachelor or master. So we need to add a degree variable to this init method. This function should still work as before, like the degree is not part of the full name, but then we should add an additional method, remaining ECTS, that performs a little bit of math and basically tells you how many ECTS you have remaining of your study line. So this is an example where class inheritance would be really helpful. So because we need to add an additional input argument to the init method, what we should do is that we should add the degree up here, like this, and then I just store it in the class degree, like this. Let's create an example. So we create a student, and that can be Jane Nielsen, for instance, and let's print out her name like this, just as an example. And we also need to give her a specialty, because that was the entire point. Like, we need to tell what that is. So let's say that she is Bachelor of Science. Okay. This method should behave the same way. So therefore, I'm not copy pasting this method into this class like this, because when I use inheritance, which is what I'm doing up here, Python will behind the scene already say, okay, we take all the methods in the person class that's not explicitly overwritten like I'm doing here, and then we just copy paste it. So behind the scenes, Python is already copy pasting this method into this class, and that's just how you should think about inheritance in this case. Now there is a single extra thing, because we want to extend this student class to do something extra, namely this remaining ECTS method. So let's just copy paste that in. Def. And we need to pass in self first, of course. And I guess what we should do is that we should test if the degree is Bachelor of Science. And then I guess we return the number of ECTS. So in that case, we would return 180 minus the number of ECTS we have studied, like this. And else it's a Master of Science, and then we return, oh god, how many points on a master? I guess it's 120 minus ECTS to date, right? Okay, so now we implemented that method. It's quite simple procedural code. Okay, so now we got that method for Jane, and now we can print out ECTS remaining remaining is this, and we started 60 points already. So now let's try to run the file and see how it works. So this works as expected. So there's one single other thing, because like maybe it feels a little bit inconvenient that we have to call the get full name in order to get the name formatted. Like couldn't we just do print s like this, and it would still format the student in a nice way? Because right now this doesn't format the student in any kind of nice way. It just prints out this stuff, which is helpful for debugging purposes, like it tells us this is a student object, but it doesn't look very nice. And Python allows a convenience method to do that was mentioned in the beginning of today's exercise, but I think it's a good time to mention it now, because Python has this magic method. So if you implement this weirdly named method string like this, and we just return something here that's a string, like the name of the student is, and now I can maybe call my get full name method to get the name, then what's actually going to happen is that whenever Python sees something like this, like we just print it out, or maybe even better, we add the two together, Python will realize behind the scenes, okay, I need to find a string representation, like format this as a string. And then Python will see if this method is implemented in the class, and if it is, it will call this method and just like as a regular function call. Like it'll effectively do this behind the scenes. But since it does it behind the scenes, we don't have to type it, and that makes our code look very simple. So let's just confirm what this does, because now we can see that the name of the student is Jane Nielsen. Like maybe it's a little confusing because I got the name is twice. So maybe I should say S is like this. So these are called typically they're called magic methods. And there are a couple of them that you can implement, and the next exercise will look at a couple of them. But this one is definitely one that's worth keeping in mind, because it can make your output look a lot more readable, and it can actually be a convenient shorthand. And at least it's a shorthand that you're likely to encounter in other contexts. And maybe you'll wonder why. Like why does my code, when I print out a class like P, because in the person we didn't override the method, why does it look like this, and why does it sometimes look like this, and why does my code look like this? And that's because you haven't overridden this method, and that's how you would obtain that effect. Okay, but it's a little untransparent because, like as I say, it's a magic method. You just have to remember that it has this funny name. Okay, I think that's all I have to say about this example, and we'll look at the magic methods in the next problem.